Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today is going to be my second shortest video ever. Let's see how many of you know what the shortest is. And that's because, well, I have a strained relationship with Thanksgiving and Black Friday these days. As in, the older I get, the more clearly I see in a Three Blind Men and an Elephant kind of way that Thanksgiving, which my family and I have enjoyed for more than half a century in the spirit to which so many of us subscribe, is in fact an example of the old adage, victors get to write history. It is now hard for me to think of a clearer example of one person's subjective truth being different from another's and perhaps neither being the actual truth. As for Black Friday and all the crowds and Michigas, well, I don't like it, but I understand the value of it to all of us. So I will attempt to navigate this ambivalence by listing the top 3 deals this weekend of which I'm aware. From my perspective, of course, your mileage may vary, and console myself with the thought that I at least brought up the historical and economic contexts of this particular period. In reverse order, beginning with number 3 on my top 3 list, the Atomos Ninja Flame monitor recorder, normally $795, but right now $595 at B&H and Amazon. That's a real 25% off, actually half of what its predecessor, the Ninja Assassin, sold for when it launched, and within spitting distance of 2 very good monitor only, Aperture's 7-inch VS5 and just $100 more than Small HD's 5-inch Focus. It's interesting to see how the Flame is listed. A recording monitor. I say, forget about the recording part. If you need a very bright 7-inch monitor with outstanding assists and interface, this is the one to get right now. The fact that you can also record up to 30 frames per second in 4K is gravy. If you do need 60 frames per second recording because you have a GH5 and plan on using it with an external recorder, then this won't do. You'll need the Inferno, but the Inferno is selling at its usual, though still aggressive, $995. Number 2, a late 2016 Apple MacBook Pro 15-inch, $600 to $800 off right now at B&H, which is another real 25% or so. My value pick for video editing would be the 16 gig, 256 gigabyte SSD, 2.7 megahertz, i7 quad core with Radeon 455 GPU for $2,100. The 2017 is faster, even some late 2016s are faster, and this can be important for 4K video editing, but let's put it this way. My pimped out mid-2012 non-Retina MacBook Pro 15-inch, which I can and do use when I'm on the road for video editing in 4K, if reluctantly it crawls when it comes to rendering in a 4K timeline. And even with a 1 terabyte SSD, gets pretty darn hot, scores 12,196 on the Geekbench 4 multi-core test. The late 2016 one I'm recommending scores around 14,800 for what is a nominal 22% gain. But when you dig into the details, the gap widens with, for example, 18.6 gigabytes per second versus 25 gigabytes per second, 35% better for memory bandwidth. Since you only get a 256 gigabyte SSD, you want to add an external USB-C SSD drive, but going external gives you more flexibility in size, speed, and price, and you want to do this anyway, irrespective of which MacBook you buy. By contrast, the current state-of-the-art in MacBook Pros is the $4,200 mid-2017 3.1 gigahertz model with 16 gig of RAM, a 2 terabyte SSD, and the Radeon Pro 560 GPU. Buds like Max Yuriev and Matt Granger say that this is a dramatically faster machine, up to twice as fast for certain tasks, and if you can swing the price, I'd go straight to the top. But for those of you doing photo, sound, or 1080 video editing only, even basic 4K video editing, you can save yourself $2,000 and be happy, especially if you're coming from an older MacBook Pro that is not spec'd to the max. Finally, the number 1 deal these days, when you think about it, is the Sony A7R II, not the 3, at Amazon and B&H for $2,400. This is $520 off, about 16%, the previous $2,900, but it's about $800 less, 25% less than its original launch price 2 years ago of $3,200. Yes, I just named the A7R III medium format camera of the year, and yes, the 3 is a significant operational, ergonomic, and speed upgrade from the 2, which turns it into the all-arounder that the A7R II is not. But here's the thing. We're talking the same 42 plus megapixel sensor, pixel shifts and improvements in the electronics around the sensor notwithstanding, and for those scenarios where that resolution matters, landscape photography, astrophotography maybe, and most product photography. Generally speaking, none of these improvements are essential. In which case, you can save enough by purchasing the Mark II to pay for a good portion of the first outstanding Sony lens you purchase for it, or even the whole thing with money left over if you buy a lens like Sony's brilliant little full-frame 28mm f2.0. So that's it. 3 exceptional values that will run through tomorrow, possibly longer, any one of which could have a significant impact on the quality of your work or the speed of your work flow. And I got my 3 blind men and an elephant perspective in as well, without, I hope, being too heavy-handed, too grim, too much of a killjoy. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below, share, add to a playlist, and especially now, consider supporting our work by using our no-cost-to-you affiliate links or even making a small contribution directly via the PayPal link in the Show More section below. As always, we thank you for it. And I do wish you all a happy season. For 3 blind men and an elephant, I'm Hugh Brownstone. See you next time.